Today, we'll be looking at how to install baseboard molding even on crooked walls, and tricks for installing baseboards. Knowing a very good trim carpenter, I've seen some of the tools and special tricks used for cutting and installing baseboards gap-free and with tight joints. And I can tell you honestly, it's not that hard. So when you start your trim job, know that walls are rarely perfectly flat. On closer inspection, you'll find lumpy mounds of taping compound, corners that are out of square, and wavy walls, no matter how well your house was built. In this project, you'll see 5 of the most common problems when installing base trim and the solutions for each. You'll get first-class results without hours of frustrating effort. While you'll sometimes only need one of these tips to solve a problem, often a combination of 2 or more will be required for polished results. But don't worry, they're not that hard. But you will need to take a look at the tools list. And yes, you will have to get a brad nailer or trim gun. They are the biggest time savers and lifesavers in this project. In segment 1, we'll cover wavy walls. In segment 2, tilted baseboards, in and out. And in segment 3, out of square outside corners and bad splices. Now, let's get started. Problem number 1, wavy walls and build-up corners. When you lay baseboard against a wall and see gaps between the top of the trim and the drywall, it's usually because of a misaligned stud or a built-up of ridge of taping compound or mud over a joint. Both will create bulges that cause gaps. You'll also find the problem on outside and inside corners, again caused by the built-up of taping compound. While you can scrape off small lumps with a putty knife, you cannot move studs or sand off the bulge of compound without creating a huge mess. It's almost always easier to adjust the trim rather than to attempt to fix any walls. Solution number 1. Flex thin trim and glue it to follow the wall contours. Most standard baseboards these days are 3 1/4 inches high and 3/8 inch thick, which make them pretty doggone flexible. First, hold the trim against the wall after you cut it to length, and look for gaps. If you see some, cut a few braces from 4 to 6 inch pieces of scrap baseboard and put 45-degree angles on the ends. Then apply construction adhesive at the top and the bottom. Nail the trim to the studs and then tack the braces to the trim with 1-inch brads. Force the gaps closed with a scrap and tack the blocks to the trim. Leave it overnight to let the adhesive set, and then pry the blocks free. Fill the little holes when you fill the rest of the nail heads. Solution number 2. Caulk gaps that are above thick trim. Thick or 3/4 inch board trim is not flexible, so it's unlikely you'll be able to flex it against the wall as shown in solution 1, nor will the glue hold it. The best solution is to simply fill any gaps with caulk. Select a premium acrylic latex caulk, usually $3 per tube, that says paintable on the label. Snip a hole in the spout no larger than 1/8 of an inch for the neatest job, cut at about a 45-degree angle. That way you can force the caulk into the gap and fill it a little bit higher than the top of the trim. Immediately wipe off excess with a damp rag. Then the next day, paint the caulk to match the wall color. You'll be surprised how well even large gaps nearly disappear. Coming up in segment 2, we'll look at tilted baseboards, both in and out.